Why did we name the beer Friday Beers? There's no other option.
I mean, it's the name of the company.
I think we had to name it that, you know?
Jack always harps on like the everyone's invited, like good times. That's like what Friday Beers is all about.
I tell a lot of people this, but Friday Beers isn't about beers. It isn't about beers on Fridays. Friday Beers is a feeling. It's about connecting. It's about relating with other people. It's about being with the people that you want to be with, and those experiences sometimes kick off with beers on a Friday.
I don't think I could name it. What else would we name it? Yeah, like.
I don't get it. I genuinely do not get it.
At the end of the day, like, we've built an amazing brand in Friday Beers. What that means to people, even people that don't know Friday Beers, the media brand, or like the, you know, Instagram account, these words together mean something to people when they see them sort of for the first time in like this new context. It was like undebatable at that point. It was like, yeah, we have to name this beer Friday Beers.
If it's not Friday, it's almost Friday. We'll let you in on a secret. Friday isn't actually a day, it's a feeling. It's that sweet release we dream of all week. It reminds us, hey, we made it again. Now imagine bottling that feeling up. That is Friday Beers. Endlessly reliable, exceptionally tasty. A light beer that just hits different. The Friday of beers. Saranac Brewery has got to be the only act in town here. There's literally nothing else.
Well, the brewery's pretty.
The brewery's cool.
Epic.
Brewery's
it looks
cool.
like Hogwarts meets frat house.
Yeah, it's got.
I've always said Hogwarts needed more frat houses. The way Kenward and you were describing it, I'm very curious to see, because most light beers taste fairly similar.
Yeah, I agree.
You guys were pretty excited about it, so I'm curious.
I don't even
what's
know
gonna
you
happen.
describe like one of the main volume light beers, but there's just not a lot of flavor or freshness to it.
I'm envisioning like eating pizza your whole life, and then like Sam introduced me to the Hot Pocket, and you're like, I didn't even know it could be done this way. I got you.
This is.
How's it going?
Hey, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Not to toot my own horn, just murdered that dap up on the first try. So
When we walk through that brewery, parts of it are really old, and then parts of it have been updated to make all this new stuff.
I definitely wasn't aware of how scientific the whole process is. There was legit chemists and people in there doing like beaker stuff.
What would happen if you smoked hops? Get high, you think?
These are old.
Want to find out?
They are.
You would literally be scorching your side.
That would scorch this alcohol.
Cheers.
That's actually I know that wasn't like a grand reaction, but it was just solid. It's just a solid beer.
What do you think?
I like it.
How much are we selling this?
How many people are in the world again?
At least
Oh,
7.2 billion.
What's that times 12?
this is gonna hit.
I feel like out of these mini glasses, it feels a little it's a little more scientific than it's going to be in the wild. I think it's going to be a lot less sterile the way I'm going to be drinking them. So my biggest worry originally was that I was going to have to lie about it being a good product for the rest of my life. And so the first feeling after trying it was probably relief, because I knew we had a great product.
I'd never been inside of a brewery, especially when it's active, but like when we started seeing those Friday beers like coming off on the line, and like breweries are crazy, like there's like all these ramps and things everywhere.
Yeah, we got the entire tour, and it was gonna be the time we got to actually like taste the beer fresh off the line.
I got chills seeing it, and like I'm not saying that because it's like, oh, we got chills, like it's cool to see the beer. It's fucking surreal to see this idea come to life that you've just been sort of imagining, and you hold it, you see it going into cases, you see the cases be putting on pallets, you see the pallets all fully assembled. It's happening. And I think that moment when we saw it and we were like, all right, there's no turning back. We're gonna be putting this thing out.
thought of like killing them. I've never been this close to it. And then bring its neck and fill with the Friday of beers.
So we were at Utica, and we were gonna go to Boston the next night. But before that, we had to go to Syracuse to get a flight out of Syracuse to fly down to Boston. And that night, we went to one of Fred's workers had a kid who went to, I think it was his stepkid, who went to Syracuse. And he had us over at his house. It was like 4 frat dudes and us like playing beer pong, and like you guys getting some shots of us playing beer pong. In my mind, I know we're all laughing about it because we're like, this isn't much of a party environment. It's also the perfect environment to just see dudes that are like you and me, enjoying this beer, enjoying how good it tastes, and messing around with like really nothing else to go on except this. That's what this beer does.
Cheers, little boys.
Cheers! All right, boys. Yeah. Next morning, we strapped it in. We went to Boston, but we had a really, really great meeting with Burke Distribution. And Jay Harmon invited us to Cisco Brewery. We pitched Burke on what Friday beers are. And it was pretty simple. We had a bunch of these beers, but we showed them a video of what Friday beers represents.
It's funny, a lot of these guys have kids in their like 20s and 30s now who, you know, are all like fans of the brand, so they sort of heard of us through them, but I don't think they like really truly understand it until we kind of like walk them through like the little presentation on our pitch of like what is Friday beers, almost Friday media, and you know, now like what is this beer, and he got to try it at that point too, and it was awesome. So we all got to like sit around, drink some of the beers. That sort of sealed the deal of like who we were going to be working with in that market.
When we were talking about putting this beer into the world, I was sort of thinking like, oh, we're gonna go out in 20 states and we're gonna go to like a football game every weekend and promote this. You know, we did a little bit of work on like, here are the games that we should go to, and it's gonna be a huge, you know, every man strapping up to get ready for weekend trips, like a big push. And we took that to the team, and I think Fred was the guy who sort of played it down. He's like, that's really not what we should do. He's like, we should pick one market where you guys are gonna be a huge hit. We should sell there and make sure it goes really well. And if we can execute it in a market like that, people will start saying in the state, I want this in the western part of the state. I want this over in this part of the state.
I think Boston's a great place to go. 1 in 6 people in Boston is a college student. And there's 2 benefits. 1, Friday Beers is strong there. 2 is that it's a liquor store market. So it's got a lot of independence so that you don't have to deal with the grocery store chains, and that's not a slight on grocery store chains. It's just, it's a harder intro into a market than if you can just go in an independent market. The fact that Jay Harmon, who's our partner in all this, is great friends with both Cappy's Liquors and Patel Group, which owns 120 accounts as well. And then you guys have East Coast connections. So I think that the synergistic benefit of all working together on that, I think is great.
The logic makes total sense. Can you go to a city where you know you're loved and put out the feeling and have people be with you while you're putting out what your brand stands for? We've been to Boston maybe 3 or 4 times, and every time we go to throw these parties,
they like sold out like instantly. We've done them like every summer since. They've been incredibly fun.
And the thing about people from Boston is they have the best passion of people I have ever witnessed. But they get the relationship that Friday Beers puts out in the world, which is, you know, it's the light at the end of the tunnel. It gets you through the week, and it gets you excited to be hanging out with people when you're not. And I think that's why we've been popular when we went to Boston, and that's why when we were thinking about cities to go to, Boston became real top of the list.
There's so many colleges and universities and young professionals that, you know, have just graduated that have made their way to Boston, and it's a real sports town. It's a real like fun party town. And like one thing we've realized, like building this company, it's like you got to be on the ground and you got to be like there with people, meeting them in person. And it felt like it was definitely the right home to like go launch this thing.